First game of the RoughRiders series in San Antonio, and we were joined by the Athletic Trainer of the Year in 2012, Carlos Olivas. Carlos, very belated congratulations. But just walk me through again, when you won it last year, what your reaction was when you found out the news and everything that went into it.
My boss gave me a call and told me that I won, and I was kind of surprised because I've never won it before. So it was nice to win something that's voted on by the other athletic trainers in the league, just to kind of be recognized as doing something right, I guess it is.
And I asked this to Eric last week when I talked to him, but be able to have you and him share that award in the same year must have been pretty special.
Definitely. We're the medical team. We work together side by side, hand in hand the whole year, so it's nice for both of us to win something. It kind of says a lot about our program and what we do, and that other teams recognize that we're doing things the right way.
I haven't seen, do you still keep the award in your office, or has that gone back to New Mexico, back home, to be displayed prominently on the mantle?
Me and Eric kind of have a little, there's a cabinet in our office, and we have our awards up on top of that for now, but it'll probably go home with me when the season's over, and hey, if I'm back, it might come back with me and go back on that shelf. You never know.
You know, this time of year, I was talking to Eric as well about this, it seems like a critical time of year to keep guys healthy, or if they are on the DL, if they are banged up, to try and get them out there as soon as possible, because a tweak here or there, and there's about 6 weeks left in the season, that could be the end of the season for them. Do you have to be extra vigilant and maybe looking out for guys that are either guarding stuff or want to rush things to get back out there so they don't lose a significant portion of the season?
Definitely, it's a grind, and with pitchers, their shoulder program we run them through, we kind of taper back at this time of year, and at the beginning of the year when they were doing heavy stuff, we maybe back them off and do, instead of a set of 10 manuals for their shoulder, they do a set of 8, or instead of doing manuals, they'll do something light like tubing or one of our lighter kind of exercises, just to maintain them to get them through the end of the year.
For the folks that don't know that trainer lingo, what's a manual?
It's a manual resistance exercise. We run the pitchers through kind of a full range of motion where they'll move their arms, say, up and down in flexion and extension, and we resist them. It's basically what it is.
Today, or it was announced today, that Neil Ramirez was put on the disabled list with an injury that should not keep him out for too long. Now, not getting into the specifics of Neil's case, but for a pitcher who maybe has an injury that is expected to keep him out just maybe a start or two, not a long rest on the disabled list, what sort of program do you put him through? Do you work with Jeff and everyone else throughout the Rangers organization to get a guy back in a relatively short amount of time?
In general, for something like that, they'll see a doctor to kind of start it off, maybe get prescribed some medication, and we'll shut them down from throwing for anywhere from 2 to 5 days, depending on how severe the injury is. Once they come back, the longer they're out, the longer the progression back into things. When somebody is out of throwing for 2 to 3 days, it's kind of more of a go by feel where they're progressing, and if they're going to be no throw for 2 weeks for something serious, we more put something down on paper where it's more of a progression. But in a shorter case, it's kind of progress it as they feel.
And for everybody that goes through some of these things where they are shut down, whether it's a leg injury, arm injury, you do keep a schedule with the Rangers as to what they do on certain days and try and keep them on track, and of course adjust as you go along, right?
Definitely, it's something with a DL case where it's more of a leg or something where we say, well, are they going to be out for 7 days, where we're going to need to put them on the DL and get somebody else to come in, or are they going to only miss 2 or 3 games and there's no need to put them on the DL? So a lot of it is recognizing what they have and speculating on how long they're going to be out. So that's one of the main things that we do.
And are you a person that makes that sort of recommendation to your higher-ups in the organization, or is it a collaborative effort with your input included?
At the onset of the injury, it's a lot of what I think. I'll say, well, I think this guy's going to miss a day or 2, or I think he's going to be out a week, so we should put him on the DL. And when it's kind of in the gray area where it's going to be close to 7 days, we might give it a couple of days and see how they're feeling. We have doctors at the game every day, so they definitely have their input. And with the help of Jeff, and depending if Rover is in town or me talking to my boss, we go from there and make the recommendation.
Here with RoughRiders athletic trainer Carlos Olivas. Joe Benson activated off the disabled list today. I know when Joe was going through his rehab with his groin injury, he was running around the bases or running around the outside of the infield dirt, and you were there observing him. In a situation like that where you're looking at a guy's legs primarily, what are you looking for that maybe I can't see when I'm watching him run?
He had a tear in one of his muscles, and so that was a progression. That was more of a full progression back. So he didn't do any activity it was close to 4 weeks. And then at that point, in 4 weeks of no running, it's just a slow progression back into activity, and it's sticking to the schedule we had for him. So it starts off with a longer distance at a lighter intensity, and we just do straight ahead running, and we'll progress that back down to a short distance at a higher intensity. And once he gets close to 80, 90%, then we'll start having him curve, and that's when he'll do the infield, run around the infield arcs. And when that feels good, then we start into base running, and it's just progression from straight ahead at a low intensity to getting full bore at running bases.
And he was another guy who seemed like you had to hold him back because he was so excited to be with the new organization, got off to that great start. He's a guy that you can't push too soon.
Definitely, and that was exactly the case with him. He had initially hurt himself, and we progressed him back, and he had, 3 at-bats, something like that, and it turned out the injury was more serious than we thought it was, and that's why with the progression back the second time, it's been more deliberate. Now he's played, I think, 8 games in Arizona rehabbing, and he's ready to go here now.
You've been in this for a long time, going back to your internships back in 2000 and 2001 when you started on with the Dodgers. Are there players that have been long gone, either from your minor league days, they're up in the big leagues now, that you still keep in communication with? Because you get to know these guys on a much different level than other members of the coaching staff.
Definitely. There's guys that you get close with that are nowhere near the game anymore. I know a guy's name was Sean Pierce, and he played for 3 or 4 years, and now he's in the business world. He owns some beverage companies and goes from there. And then I know like Clayton Kershaw, who's pretty successful at the major league level. Everybody knows who he is, and I keep in touch with guys that are kind of all over the spectrum.
Do you have like a room in your house with things that players maybe have given you, or pictures, autographs, things like that?
I used to, and then I had a couple of kids, and then they turned into bedrooms. But I still have some stuff, and I feel like sometimes I should get things like signed jerseys and things from guys like that. I mean, you never know when they're in the minor leagues what they're going to turn into, and sometimes when they get to the big leagues, you kind of lose contact, especially being in a different organization, and they move on, and phone numbers change, and it's kind of running into them here and there now is what it's like.
Well, every day you're at the field, you have a constant reminder of one of the former players that you had by the glove that you used to warm up with, right?
I do. Jurickson Profar got me a glove last year, and so it took me 12 years, but I got a glove with my name stitched on the side of it, and I'll always think of Profar whenever I pick that thing up, and it's a little bit of a flashy Profar model with red and blue, so yeah, it's pretty cool.
One of the members of the coaching staff you warm up from time to time, Steve Buechele. Where does he rank in terms of the managers that you've had? Because obviously you've had almost a different one every year.
Yeah, he's definitely up there at the top, and it's nice being around basically the same staff the last 3 years with Frisco. And Jason Hart's been here the last 2 years, but Eric and Jeff and Boo and I have been here together the last 3 years. So it's good to be around someone who you're familiar with, and he knows what I got, and I know what he has, and just makes the relationship run pretty smoothly.
Finally, you mentioned the family, the young kids that you have, and you told me the other day that they were leaving for the rest of the baseball season. How difficult is that? Because it's something that people don't really think about when they think about a baseball life, but a lot of the time you're away from your family. Even when they are living with you in Frisco, you're away on the road half the time. That must be something that you have to get used to. It takes a special group of people to be able to be a part of that lifestyle, and it's a strain that maybe folks don't even think about when they come out to a game.
Definitely, it's really tough. And I would imagine a lot of people think that we just live here and we work here all the time. But no, I live in New Mexico, and my family's out there. They had to go back for school. And I've been with my wife since before I started in baseball, so it's kind of something we've been used to. And she's always been nervous along the line, wondering what it's going to be like to raise a family. But you see guys like Boo, who has 4 kids and has a great relationship with them all. So when you can be together, you really enjoy the time together. And when you're apart, it really isn't that fun, but kind of gives you something to look forward to go back. Because they say absence makes the heart grow fonder. So.
Speaking of enjoy the time, I enjoy the time here chatting with you, and another congratulations on your award last year, and hopefully you can follow it up with another one this season.
That would be nice. I enjoyed it also. Thanks, Alex.
It's RoughRiders trainer Carlos Olivas. We're back after this on the Frisco RoughRiders Baseball Network.